And this is Power Play. Internet, welcome back here on an exciting Thursday in Washington, where we are having a bit of a whodunit in Washington today. Who put the story out that is now causing Herman Cain so much trouble? The Cain campaign says that it was none other than rootin' tootin' Rick Perry down in Texas did it to him. Perry says, hey, don't look at me. Look at those Romney guys. They probably did it. Does it matter? What's the significance? We're going to sort it out. We have two great people to do that job for us. We have Ford O'Connell. He's the chairman of Civic Forum PAC. He is a Republican. He is on the red team. He is one of these political consultants who are so ruining Washington. And then we have Mark Mellman. He's on the blue team. He's a Democratic consultant and pollster and a former Bill Clinton advisor. And gentlemen, aren't you glad you don't represent Herman Cain today?
Yes.
It'd be a tough Thursday, right? It would be a tough Thursday. So let's start with the first question. And because it's on your team, I'll start with you, Ford. Does it matter who leaked this?
I don't think it does matter. I don't even care if the allegations are true at this juncture. I'm not endorsing sexual harassment. I just
to
don't
be
think
clear.
it matters.
Yes,
no, to be clear.
Right.
But I think this has become sort of a bad political made-for-TV TMZ reality show on how not to handle crisis management. We talked about how presidents are supposed to handle the 3 a.m. phone call. Team Cain can't even handle a basic 9 a.m. phone call. I don't know where they're going to go from here because, frankly, they decided to wing it. They were given 10 days, and they tried to talk their way through it, and now they've just walked into one too many traps.
Okay, what do you say, Mark?
Well, there's no question that's right. Herman Cain has proved himself to be an amateur at this process. But I'll tell you, I think at this point it does matter who leaked it, just because everyone's denied it. As everyone always says, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. If somebody hadn't denied leaking it, there'd be no problem. But everyone's now denied it. Somebody did leak it, presumably, perhaps. If somebody did leak it, they're found out to be lying, they're going to be in trouble. We've seen this play out before. 1988, story about Mike Dukakis was out there, and about Joe Biden was out there, right? From the Dukakis campaign, people ended up resigning from the Dukakis campaign because they said originally that they weren't the source of it.
So that matters, and I want to share with you before we get away from it. James Rosen is just reporting; it's just coming in on the internet, which I know you love, internet. Is that Herman Cain did not sign the final agreement, that he was aware of the agreement with the women, but did not sign. So that means he's not bound by the terms of the confidentiality agreement, which means that the first accuser has a weaker case, I guess, in asking to be unbound from that confidentiality agreement to tell her side of the story. So I'm just bringing you up to speed as it comes in here. The question, when you get down to it, is this. Cain obviously stumbled when he changed the story about what he knew or didn't know, comes out originally and says, I don't know of any settlement by the end of the first day. This is Monday. He says, yes, I was aware of the settlement, but it was small, and those things. Then we saw yesterday he comes out and says, talking to, I believe, Forbes, says, well, I briefed at length my then strategist, whose name is escaping me, Kurt Anderson, Republican strategist Kurt Anderson. I briefed him at length in detail in 2004 about all of the allegations, and that's where everybody got this. So what does he need to do now? What's the first thing? If they called you guys in for a crisis communications intervention, what's the first thing you do?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't answer any more questions about this. I would regroup, and I would say, all right, we're going to review all of the allegations. And when we have all of the facts, we're going to do a primetime interview on the subject, and we're going to walk through this step by step so everybody's clear on our position. I don't see any other way out of this. I mean, you can say, well, she didn't sign the first, severance agreement, but it still doesn't matter. There's too many inconsistencies. You can't be caught flat-footed. You're running for the President of the United States. This is the NFL right now, and you're handling it miserably.
That's exactly right. And the truth is it's too late in many respects. The contradictions are already there. The amateur status is clearly evident. I'm not sure Humpty Dumpty can be put back together at this point, even with the finest crisis manager.
But wait a minute. Now, there has been some upside. Now, I'll grant you it may be temporary, but there has been some upside for Cain in this, that conservatives who hate the press, who hate Washington, who hate spin and talking points, feel that Herman Cain is under attack, and it's something I call the Palin effect, which is the harder the media goes after somebody, the more the Republican base actually rallies to them, and that there is a substantial part of the Republican electorate that when they see somebody in crisis and they see Politico and they see the New York Times and they see these people going after him, they rally to their cause. Now, if Cain can find a way, if he can find a trap door out of this thing, if he can find some way to get out of this, and it comes out that there was no wrongdoing, wouldn't he be substantially advantaged by what's going on?
But that's the mistake he made yesterday or today. He was in a battle battle against the media. Now he's in battle against Romney and Perry, or against Perry in particular. And that makes it a lot more difficult. If he had made this a battle against the media, talked about the media distorting the situation, trying to attack a good hard-right conservative like him, he might have had a chance. But when you start playing, saying it's not about the media, it's about my opponents, it becomes a much more difficult game to play, especially when you're the one that's been inconsistent.
True, but to your point, a big allure besides being affable and having the 999 plan, a big allure for Herman Cain's followers was his often touted executive management experience. And part of that includes crisis management proficiency. And frankly, he's been too flat-footed on this subject. But good for conservatives not to trust the media, I being one of them. I'm right there, and I agree with you. He should have turned this towards the media and kept it at the media because, frankly, conservatives don't trust the media.
Okay, now, there are some interesting, as I wrote in the Power Play this morning, which you, Internet, know that you can have at foxnews.com/politics each morning. I love writing it. You'll love reading it. As I wrote today, part of any sort of investigation asks this question: cui bono? Who benefits the most from something? That sometimes helps you put it together. And the beneficiaries here, looks like there are a couple. Mitt Romney. Benefit, no matter what happens, it seems like Mitt Romney just benefits from. I have not seen anybody this lucky since Barack Obama in 2008. Seriously, everything is landing.
I'd say he's a lot luckier. Obama had some real skill. I'm not sure Romney's playing any skill. He's just getting luck.
He's skillfully keeping his trap shut, and that's pretty good if that's all that's required. So Romney stands to benefit if Cain deflates in time for Iowa, and that the Romney can go through if Perry gets blown up. The other potential beneficiary I see here, Newt Gingrich. Here's the guy, the other contestant in the three-man primary within a primary in the Republican Party, to be the person who is not Mitt Romney that is running for president. Does Gingrich stand to substantially benefit here?
Well, I think the question is who does the anti-Romney voting bloc decide to back? Let's say Cain fails.
Right.
They have really two choices right now: Texas Governor Rick Perry and Newt Gingrich. And based on the fact that Newt Gingrich is doing the best job in the debates, he's out there. And he's also smart to be backing Cain and show sympathy for Cain because he's the one who could really get those supporters en masse. But again, we have to wait and see how Cain pans out.
And also for the former speaker, Mark, there is some personal reason that he would want to downplay this sort of allegations dredged up from the 1990s kind of stuff.
Oh, no question about it. He's got his own personal issues that I'm sure he doesn't want to discuss again during this campaign. But look, I think at the end of the day, there's no question there is a big anti-Romney vote out there. I mean, just look at the numbers nationally. Romney's had people
He's
gone up.
He's flatlined at 23%.
Exactly, about 25 people gone up, down. He's the one that stayed solid, only at 25. There are a lot of Republicans that don't want to vote for him. But I don't think Newt Gingrich is going to capture those folks. I mean, Newt Gingrich is the other guy who is really not well liked by the Republican electorate. You can argue it's not for good reason, but the fact is Republicans don't like him.
Well, here's a tip: the Republicans are going to nominate somebody they don't like this year, no matter what. They've come, I think they're coming to this conclusion that after a grand idea that it was going to be a magical time and they were going to have somebody they really like, they just realized something. These people are all politicians, and Republicans hate politicians. And here are
absolutely, but I do think that there is a big opening for Team Perry. The question is whether or not they can capitalize it, and the key to that is winning Iowa.
Right.
And now Mitt Romney even sees that because he's out in eastern Iowa making sure he's banging on the doors and touching people too. There is still an opening, and Team Romney probably has about a 70% chance of winning the nomination as of today.
Right.
The question is can they continue their sort of Jimmy Johnson chase for the cup strategy and just stay above the fray? I don't know.
Okay, well, now the thing that seems pretty evident right now is that if Mitt Romney were to win Iowa, this thing is over like in a kabang. The idea that Romney, who wasn't supposed to win in Iowa, wins in Iowa, goes to New Hampshire and wins, unless somebody can make a goal line stand and win both South Carolina and Florida. By the time you get out of the first month. And he'll win Nevada, too.
True, Chris, but again, our primary rules have changed. This is not winner take all. So he's still in there for a while, and he could make some mistakes. I agree with you.
It's not really about the delegates at that point. It's about the momentum. And the truth is, if Romney wins Iowa, he is guaranteed to win New Hampshire. And if he wins Iowa and New Hampshire, he will not lose the nomination.
And there you have it, Internet. Tell us what you think. What are your odds? I asked you yesterday. I want to ask you again today. I love this question. Ford said 70%. Mark agrees. Basically, 70% is a chance for Romney to capture the Republican nomination. What's your percentage on Mitt Romney? You can hit me at Stirewalt on the Twitters, or you can just go right here in the chat have your say and tell us, what's Mitt Romney's election percentage? Where do you put his number? We'll tell you that. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Congressman David Schweikert from Arizona, and he's going to tell us what's going on with the investigation into Solyndra and all of the good stuff up there on Capitol Hill today. So stick around. Frankly, if we're going to have fewer troops in Afghanistan in a year or two, then you might as well do it now, while we have enough troops to bail them out, meaning the Afghans, when they screw up. That's an administration official talking to the Wall Street Journal about the chances for drawing U.S. troops out of Afghanistan in 2012 instead of 2014. And this is Power Play. Welcome back, Internet. Welcome back also Republican Ford O'Connell, Democrat Mark Mellman. Smart guys, we're having a good conversation here today. And let me test my cynicism yet again. Let me do a cynicism needle test.
Never be proven wrong being cynical.
Absolutely. You'll never go wrong underestimating the character of America's politicians. But the question is this: how much does the 2012 election impinge upon this question of changing the strategy in Afghanistan? Now, we should be clear, and Jennifer Griffin's reporting on this, and she was going to be with us and smarten us up on the subject, but she's been called away. But basically what the administration is saying is, we're not saying we're going to do it, but we're opening the door. They're tapping open the door on the possibility of expediting the drawdown instead of 2014, instead of 2012. How much does the election have to do with this?
I think it has a lot to do with it. I think the Obama administration sort of wants every feather in its cap, going into November of 2012. So I really think it's a big deal. And I think the question is, if we draw down, can the Afghan government effectively govern itself, and without sort of having the whole situation turn into a shootout at the OK Corral? Because if it does, and we draw it down, then basically what we've essentially done for the last decade is for naught.
Okay, Mark?
Well, look, I don't really think it's fundamentally political. This is an election that's going to turn on domestic issues, and domestic issues very, very clearly. It's the economy. It's other domestic issues like the economy. And I just don't think that people are going to be paying that much attention to what happens in Afghanistan one way or the other. So I think the administration's looking at this and saying, you know what, for the health of our economy, we can't afford to be spending tens of billions of dollars a year, every year, year in, year out, forever defending Afghanistan, digging Afghanistan. The reality is Afghanistan is not a creation of the British Empire. It's a bunch of tribes that were put together. There's not a paved road in the country. And
well, there's one. They keep blowing it up.
Right. One. And the truth is there just isn't much we can do to hold that country together, absent a lot of help. That's why they just had a conference, 12 countries coming together to try and plan for the long-term future of Afghanistan. We can't afford to do it alone.
Ironically, I look at this more being about President Obama's Gallup rating. No president has ever won re-election in the modern era with a Gallup rating of below 47.
Right.
And other than his likability factor, the factor that he's getting the most boost from is his handling of foreign policy, which ironically, he was a rookie and a deer in the headlights when it began.
Which makes it so much harder for your team to run against him, because now he has had all these years of on-the-job experience on foreign policy. And
well, haven't you noticed David Axelrod's surrogates are all out there touting foreign policy?
Killing Bin
never
Laden.
heard that one. Boy, an expansion of the Bush policy is now helping Team Obama. How ironic.
Well, Obama's actually successful what Bush only tried to do.
Okay. Now, here, let's let the Internet have its say before we go. Enter third. Here's what you say, enter third, that it doesn't matter what Romney's percentage is. I guess he's assuming that Romney gets a nomination. Will lose to Obama. Doesn't. So basically he says, who cares about your stupid percentage? Sorry, enter third. But Bert says 50-50. Now, I think Bert's a little low, but I think that there is some deep skepticism out there in the Republican electorate. I guess I'll put it this way. They've been enjoying this process. They've actually liked going through. What do I like, Bachmann? Do I like Pelini? Do I like this? They've been having fun. 30 seconds each, guys. What's the most likely scenario in which Romney doesn't get it? Mark, starting with you.
Someone else has to win Iowa. If someone else wins Iowa, that person go on and give him a challenge. Who's that person going to be? The only guy that's got the money at this point is Rick Perry. The only guy that has the following at this point is Herman Cain. Both of them have serious troubles, which is why I give pretty high likelihood to Romney pulling it through.
I do think it's Romney's to lose. The question really becomes, does the anti-Romney voting bloc get behind one candidate versus backing a cadre of candidates? If it gets behind one candidate heading into Iowa, that candidate very well could unseat Mitt Romney.
Ford, Mark, we thank you for being with us today. We always thank you for being with us, Internet. You're fantastic. And